Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News on Rajya Sabha television, where we get you the biggest developing news stories at the top of one. My name is Aishwarya Kapoor and let us start the bulletin with the headlines. Prime Minister in Madhya Pradesh to inaugurate a slew of development projects. Mohanpura irrigation project benefiting 727 villages in state to be inaugurated. E-commercial urban transport bus service Sutra Seva in 20 cities to be dedicated to the people. Vice President calls for increased focus on welfare of widows at an event to mark International Widows Day. Says most pressing need to provide livelihood skills for women and their children. Calls for a preference to be given to widows while extending mudra loans. Despite a historic summit, US says North Korea continues to pose unusual and extraordinary threat to national security, foreign policy and economy of the country. Donald Trump extends national emergency with respect to North Korea for a year. Belgium to play Tunisia on day 10 of FIFA World Cup in Moscow. Mexico and South Korea to clash in the second match of the day. Germany to take on Sweden. And India to begin their campaign against arch rivals Pakistan in the Six Nation Champions Trophy hockey tournament in Netherlands. In the Kabaddi Masters in Dubai, India outplay Pakistan in the inaugural match. Our top story this afternoon, Prime Minister Nirav Modi is in Madhya Pradesh today for a day-long visit where he will be inaugurating a slew of development projects. Prime Minister Modi will dedicate the Mohanpura irrigation project worth 3,866 crore rupees in Rajya district to the people of the state. This project includes a dam and a canal system that would benefit 727 villages. Thereafter, Prime Minister Modi will head to Indore to dedicate development works worth 4,713 crore rupees at a program. He will also felicitate the winners of Cleanliness Survey Swachh Survekshan 2018. In Indore, the Prime Minister will also inaugurate the state government's urban transport scheme named Sutra Seva. This economical bus service is being introduced in 20 selected cities of the state. The Griha Pravesh or the housewarming ceremony of all the 1,219 beneficiaries of the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana will be performed simultaneously across the state. And in fact, these are the live visuals that we are getting from Madhya Pradesh, and the Prime Minister is going to arrive in a short while from now at an event here where he is slated to inaugurate a slew of development projects. And Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu has said that there is a need for increased focus on the welfare of widows in our country. Speaking at the International Widows Conference on the occasion of International Widows Day today, the Vice President said that India has about 4.3 crore widows and they need to be treated with special care. He said that the most pressing need in the present time is to provide livelihood skills to women and the education for their children. He stressed on the need to promote a skill development and create livelihood opportunities through vocational training programs to make them financially independent. He said that preferences should be given to widows while extending mudra loans. He also called for greater participation of NGOs and the private sector in empowering widows.
2011 census data, 58% of widows are above 60 years, 32% between 40 to 59 years, 9% are in the age group of 20 to 39 years, and a negligible group is under 19 years. Since nearly one-third of the widows are in the 40-50 years age group, the government should promote skill development and create livelihood opportunities through vocational training programs in various areas, including tailoring, garment making and packaging. Indigenous widows need to be empowered financially by providing loan to be self-employed. Preference should be given to widows while extending mudra loans. The Prime Minister recently brought a very progressive legislation of empowering women through Mudra Bank. Loans are given on priority to the woman. I am happy that some states like Haryana and Rajasthan are also giving preference to widows seeking government jobs through competitive exams. This should be emulated by other states too.
NHRD Minister Prakash Javadekar has assured that the students appearing for the National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test, that is the NEET test, from next year will not have to travel outside their state to appear for the examination. The minister's assurance came following the controversy that surrounded NEET, in which many candidates from Tamil Nadu were allotted exam centres outside the state. The minister was at IIT Madras to take part in an event to mark the conclusion of the grand finale of the first hardware hackathon edition of Smart India 2018. And while responding to questions on complaints regarding allotted centres, he said that authorities have already been instructed to accommodate NEET candidates within the districts. From next year, exam centres will be allotted for any district which has more than 4,000 candidates. Around 13,000 candidates from Tamil Nadu were allotted exam centres as far as Rajasthan in NEET 2018 exam, citing the surge in NEET applications. Many students faced difficulties in reaching the centres following the confusion over exam centres. In fact, several candidates also did not appear for the exam. Big story from Maharashtra, where the state government has imposed a strict ban on the use and manufacturing of plastic items in the state, as the policy took effect from today. In a move to control pollution and check the damage caused to the environment, the Maharashtra government has issued a notification imposing a ban on the manufacturing, use, sale and distribution of all plastic materials in the state. Now, those caught using plastic will be imposed with a very heavy penalty, and the fine for the first and the second time offenders will be 5,000 and 10,000 rupees respectively, and a third time violation will attract a fine of 25,000 rupees and a jail term for 3 months. State Environment Minister Ramdas Kadam has said that common people and small traders will not be harassed, while strict action would be taken against plastic manufacturers. On to some other news now. The Interpol is expected to issue a red corner notice against fugitive Nirav Modi, as the international agency is satisfied with the documents provided by the CBI, which is probing the multi-crore PNB scam case. The records that the CBI has provided to the Interpol includes the non-bailable warrants issued by a Mumbai Special Court and also the details of the charge sheets that have been filed in the case. The sources said that the process was at an advanced stage and an RCN could be issued by early next week unless some last-minute explanation was sought, the chances of which were negligible. The case pertains to cheating the Punjab National Bank through fraudulent issuance of letters of undertakings as well as foreign letters of credit worth about 13,000 crore rupees by Nirav Modi and his uncle Mehul Choksi, who are both absconding since the last week of January. On to political developments from Jammu and Kashmir. After his party's decision to withdraw support from the PDP-led government in the state, BJP President Amit Shah is in Jammu today. He will be addressing a rally there. Shah is on a day-long trip to the city, marking the martyrdom anniversary of party founder President Shyama Prasad Mukherjee. Amit Shah will also hold meetings with the digital media and the social media volunteers and also participate in other organizational events. He will also review the party's preparations for the Lok Sabha election that are due next year. And earlier, former Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister Mehbooba Mufti met with Governor N.N. Vora on Friday and discussed issues related to the growth and development of the state. Mehbooba Mufti referred to certain important issues relating to the growth and development of the state, which could not be finalized during her tenure, and she urged the governor to consider the same for early decisions. The governor discussed with the former chief minister the need for all political parties and social organizations to join hands to regain the trust of the youth and restore normalcy in Kashmir. This was the first meeting between the two since Mehbooba Mufti resigned as the chief minister on Tuesday after the BJP decided to pull out of its alliance with the PDP. And earlier, N.N. Vora, the governor of Jammu and Kashmir, convened an all-party meeting in Srinagar on Friday. The meeting was called to discuss the situation in the wake of the implementation of a governor's rule in the state. And during the meeting, the National Conference, as well as other political parties, including the Panthers Party, favoured an immediate dissolution of the State Assembly so as to make the atmosphere conducive for holding early elections in the state. Besides, they also urged the governor to take some confidence-building measures and to carry out a crackdown on corruption and cleaning the governance system. PDP representative Dilawar Mir favoured the continuation of the assembly and also allowing the MLAs to work, while Jammu and Kashmir Pradesh Congress Committee President G.A. Mir also favoured fresh elections in the state. He, however, left the decision to the governor about the fate of the assembly, which is currently in suspended animation. The BJP remained silent on the issue. The governor also sought the cooperation of all the political parties in improving the situation in Jammu and Kashmir. And Union Minister Arun Jaitley has said that terrorists have to be dealt with firmly to protect human rights of ordinary citizens. In a Facebook post, Arun Jaitley said that dealing with the terrorists who refuse to surrender is not muscular policy, but a law and order issue which cannot wait for political solution. He said, and I quote him now, "At times we get caught in the idioms that we create. One such phrase is muscular policy in Kashmir. To deal with a killer is also a law and order issue. It cannot wait a political solution. A Fedayeen is willing to die. He's also willing to kill. Should he be dealt with offering satyagraha before him? A policy, therefore, has to be to protect the ordinary citizen of the valley, get him freedom from terror. A terrorist who refuses to surrender and refuses a ceasefire offer has to be dealt with as anybody taking law in his own hands. This is not muscular. It is the rule of law," unquote. Jaitley was responding to fears raised about by the Congress leaders that the imposition of governance rule in the state might result in return of the muscular policy to deal with the Kashmir problem. And right now we'll slip into a very short break. We'll be back with more news. Don't go anywhere.
Hello and welcome to Policy Watch. I am Vishal Dahiya, and this week we will take a look at the new policy about internet telephony and the impact of insolvency and bankruptcy code.
It's a seamless service provision which is available to the consumer, and it also addresses the question of call drops.
Once the voice over internet telephony rings in through your Android networks or Android telephone network, or the mobile internet mobility becomes more and more spread and popular, my guess is the speeds have to go up progressively.
Let's now look at the impact of insolvency and bankruptcy code.
That this is the second most important legislation that the Modi government has implemented after GST.
Several promoters who want to retain their companies, irrespective of what has happened in the past, seem to be creating a lot of hurdles. This is the biggest challenge.
The biggest sporting event on earth is here. Top teams will compete to be crowned world champions. Complete analysis of all the matches. Don't miss Rajya Sabha TV's coverage of the FIFA World Cup every day at 5 p.m.
Welcome back after the break. President Ramnath Kovind has concluded his three-nation visit to Greece, Suriname and Cuba. On Friday, on the last leg of his visit to Cuba, President Kovind held delegation-level talks with his Cuban counterpart, Miguel Diaz-Canel. President Ramnath Kovind tweeted that both the countries agreed to enhance cooperation in biotechnology, renewable energy and traditional medicine. He added that Cuba also reiterated support for India's candidature for a permanent seat in the United Nations Security Council. And after the delegation-level talks, India and Cuba signed 2 MOUs to increase cooperation in traditional medicine and homeopathy, and another one to deepen collaboration in biotechnology.
This was also the highest level visit from India at the level of our president, both to Suriname and to Cuba. Therefore, it was historic in its nature. With Cuba, of course, we have very strong, cordial, friendly relations. We are both founding members of the non-aligned movement. Both have stood for South-South solidarity. We have collaborated very closely in the United Nations, in the WTO, and other forums.
The president also addressed the students of Havana University before leaving for New Delhi. He said mutual respect and solidarity among developing countries form the core of the South-South cooperation. And early in the afternoon, President Kovind paid his respects to Cuban national hero Jose Marti at the Jose Marti Memorial Revolution Square in Havana. President Kovind also visited the Center of Genetic Biotechnology and attended a presentation on Cuba pharma industry. Prior to Cuba, President Kovind visited Greece and Suriname. MEA said that at the time of Kovind's visit, Suriname was celebrating 145th anniversary of the arrivals of Indians in that country.
Major focus of discussions was on collaboration in traditional systems of medicine. In addition to that, other areas of cooperation with Suriname lie in the field of development of natural resources. Suriname is rich in bauxite, rich in gold, timber and oil and natural gas, where we see immense potential for collaboration. In addition to that, during discussions, the President of Suriname sought India's assistance in development of the agriculture sector.
On to some other news now. Reminding the developed world of its commitments to the developing countries, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj said that developing countries need support to combat climate change. Now, speaking at the European Union high-level event on climate change in Brussels, Sushma Swaraj said that the capacity of developing countries to translate their potential commitments into tangible initiatives and projects is constrained by a lack of predictable, sustained and adequate financing and technologies. She said that India would reduce the emission intensity of our GDP by 25% over 2005 levels by 2020 and is also committed to further reduce it by 33 to 35% over the 2005 levels by 2030.
Climate change poses significant development challenges, especially for developing countries. It can pose a threat to the food and water availability in developing countries, on their multi-nutritional needs, livelihoods, health and well-being, and energy security. The response to these challenges must therefore be in terms of solutions that factor in developmental requirements. Global partnerships and collective actions with a genuine will to pursue sustainable lifestyles remain critical for this purpose. There is no doubt that all countries are working towards fulfilling their commitments under these multilateral frameworks. However, we must bear in mind that the capacity of developing countries to translate their political commitments into tangible initiatives and projects gets constrained by lack of predictable, sustained and adequate finances and technologies.
External Affairs Minister is in Brussels on the last leg of a European nation tour to meet the senior officials of the European Union. Sushma Swaraj on Friday also met European Union High Representative Federica Mogherini. Sushma Swaraj also held delegation-level talks with the Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Belgium. The MEA said that both the leaders undertook a comprehensive review of our bilateral relationship and exchanged views on regional and multilateral issues. Earlier, Sushma Swaraj also visited a photo exhibition in Brussels along with Federica Mogherini. And funded by India, Mongolia on Friday launched the construction of its first oil refinery. The groundbreaking ceremony was attended by Home Minister Rajnath Singh and the Mongolian Prime Minister. Now, India has loaned $1 billion to Mongolia for the project, which is designed to end the country's dependence on Russian fuel. Home Minister Rajnath Singh described the launch as an important milestone in bilateral ties and expressed confidence that with the start of this refinery, Mongolia would derive rich benefits. Rajnath Singh is on a 3-day visit to Mongolia to further strengthen India's relations with the East Asian country and security cooperation. And US President Donald Trump has threatened to impose a 20% tariffs on all the cars imported from Europe. Donald Trump's warning comes after the European Union imposed heavy tariffs on various US manufactured products yesterday morning in a retaliatory move against the US president's decision to slap hefty tariffs on European steel and aluminium exports. In a tweet, Donald Trump said that if the heavy tariffs and barriers are not too soon broken down and removed by the European Union, a strong 20% of tariff will be placed on all of their cars coming into the US. Donald Trump had initially imposed a high 25% tariff on European Union steel and 10% on their aluminium on 1st of June, sparking off the trade war between the two global powers. And Donald Trump administration has also renewed sanctions on North Korea as President Donald Trump has cited an unusual and extraordinary threat from North Korea's nuclear arsenal. In a declaration sent to the US Congress, Donald Trump has stated that the existence and the risk of proliferation of nuclear weapons in North Korea continues to pose threat to the national security, foreign policy and the economy of the United States, and that the US will extend national emergency with respect to North Korea for a year. Remember, at the historic Donald Trump-Kim summit, both the leaders had signed a pledge to work towards complete denuclearization of the Korean peninsula. Now let's get you all the action from the Football World Cup in FIFA. So here are the results from the Friday's fixtures at the Football World Cup going on in Russia. Well, Coutinho and Neymar came to the rescue for Brazil as both struck in the injury time to help the 5-time champions beat Costa Rica in their Group E match. The first half of the game was goalless as both the sides were unable to convert their chances. But the Brazilian side attacked relentlessly in the second half and was awarded with a penalty in the 78th minute. It looked like Brazil, after drawing its opening game with Switzerland, was heading for another stalemate. But then Coutinho's goal in the first minute of the injury time and Neymar's volley in the 97th minute sealed the victory for Brazil. And with a win, Brazil now has 4 points and it will now face Serbia in its final group game, while Costa Rica are eliminated from the competition. In the second match of the day yesterday, well, Switzerland took a huge leap towards the last 16 of the World Cup as Sherdan Shaqiri scored a brilliant solo 90th minute winner against Serbia. The side beat Serbia 2-1. Switzerland are now level with Brazil on 4 points at the top of Group E, in second place due to an inferior goal difference, and they will now qualify for the last 16 with a draw against Costa Rica, who have already been eliminated in their final game. If Switzerland win, then Serbia must beat Brazil in their final game to progress. And in the third match on Friday, Nigeria bounced back from their opening game defeat and boosted their chances of qualifying for the knockout stages of the World Cup, as well as Argentina's with a 2-0 win over Iceland yesterday. Two delightful goals from Ahmed Musa scored, secured Nigeria a first victory of the tournament and also diminished Iceland's chances of making it to the last 16. The team is now second in Group D And their concluding group match against two-time champions Argentina will be billed as the winner takes all tie. And on day 10 of the FIFA World Cup today, here are the matches slated. Belgium will take on Tunisia in the Group G match in Moscow at 5:30 p.m. South Korea will play Mexico in the Group F fixture at 8:30 p.m. and Germany and Sweden will clash in the Group F match in Sochi at 11:30 p.m. And for all the in-depth analysis of all of the day's matches with our experts in the studio, do remember to watch our special show on FIFA World Cup every day at 5 p.m. And in more sporting action, India defeated arch rivals Pakistan 36-20 in the inaugural match of the Kabaddi Master Championship in Dubai last evening. Skipper Ajay Thakur scored 15 rate points. The Indian team dominated the court and the players gave a superb all-round performance. Union Sports Minister Rajya Singh Rathore and Ambassador Navdeep Suri also witnessed the match. And today, India began their Champions Trophy hockey tournament campaign with a clash with arch rivals Pakistan. World's best 6 teams are competing in the Champions Trophy, and this year's lineup include the reigning Olympic champions Argentina, world number 1 Australia, Belgium, hosts Netherlands, Pakistan and India, of course. Well, this edition is the last edition of the prestigious event. And that's it from me and my team in this edition of Midday News. Thanks so much for watching.